Hello, I'm Tibbs-Shirani with 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz. This is where you get everything you need to know in 90 seconds at 9 o'clock, with news there might be another free trade agreement on the cards for New Zealand. It was announced early this morning the European Union Commission wants to negotiate separate free trade agreements with both New Zealand and Australia as a part of its trade strategy for the next 4 years. The Herald reports the caveat is talks will take into account EU agricultural sensitivities. Agriculture in the EU is still heavily subsidised, even though subsidy levels are being reduced over time. FTA talks might not begin for another 2 years. Consumer inflation in China cooled more than expected in September, while producer prices slid for the 43rd month in a row. The consumer price index was up 1.6% year-on-year and down from 2% in August. While the price of food was up 2.7% year-on-year, the price of milk and other dairy products was down at nearly 1%. The producer price index fell 5.9% from a year ago, the same rate of decline as in August, which was the biggest drop since the global financial crisis. China is suffering from having too much capacity and sluggish domestic investment demand. Inflation figures out of the US this morning are equally as gloomy. US retail sales barely rose in September, and producer prices recorded their biggest decline in 8 years, raising further doubts about whether the Fed will raise interest rates this year. Retail and food services prices were up 2.4% year-on-year and up 0.1% from August. Meanwhile, the producer price index fell 1.1% from September last year. These weak reports are the latest suggestion the US economy may be losing momentum in the face of slowing global growth, a strong dollar, low oil prices and an inventory correction. In fact, other data out of the US shows business inventories, a key component of gross domestic product, were flat in August for a second month in a row. Businesses are working through a stockpile of merchandise accumulated in the first half of the year. Inventories increased by more than $100 billion during this time, a record and unsustainable rise. Inventories made no contribution to the second quarter's annualised GDP growth of 3.9%. In New York, the US Treasury 10-year benchmark has slumped to 2.00%. The US benchmark oil price has dropped nearly $1 over the past 24 hours to $46.70 a barrel. The Brent crude price is down to $49 a barrel. The gold price has risen to $1,175 an ounce. The New Zealand dollar has made substantial gains over the past 24 hours. It strengthened a cent to 67.8 US cents as data out of the US overnight was weaker than expected. The dollar's also risen 1.5 cents to 93.1 Australian cents, off the back of a steady message from the Reserve Bank Governor yesterday and an independent mortgage rate hike by Westpac. The TWI is up to 71.6. I'm Tibbs-Shirani, and that was 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz.